The Fourth Authority by Dr. Alon Giladi. Research question and methodology.
The research question that I will address in this work is, why is there a place for the establishment of an independent social fourth authority in the democratic liberal state? After I have clarified in a general and preliminary way the conceptual framework of the discussion regarding the fourth authority and the democratic liberal state, in which the establishment of this authority will be examined, it is appropriate to propose several basic assumptions which have, in my opinion, a reasonable basis and which, within the framework of this work, I will not address their refutation. After outlining these basic assumptions, I will turn to the research itself, to the answers to the research question, which will focus on a liberal point of view for the reasons detailed in the introduction. To answer the research question, I will first address the conceptual level, meaning the examination of my claim in relation to the positions of central liberal thinkers regarding the proper social structure derived from them. One can, of course, argue that these positions in their detail are suited to their time, as their thought stemmed from general motives combined with specific historical social motives or reasons. On the other hand, the views of these thinkers are in the nature of foundation stones in their actual importance to the dominant democratic liberal social view, as well as the return to their examination and the discussion of them, which characterizes the era of conceptual uncertainty in our days. Hence, from the criticism of their bases, conclusions regarding the research question can be drawn, with the necessary changes and while focusing on our matter. If the existence of the fourth authority is consistent with or does not stand in contradiction to the bases of the central liberal views, let alone if its establishment constitutes a derivative of the structural deficiencies in these views on the issue of social gaps, then one can turn with greater scientific comfort, from a liberal perspective at least, to the applied examination of the proposal under discussion. This examination will be done through the examination of the relevant positions of these thinkers in context to the institutional structure of the state, while examining the deficiencies revealed from them regarding that same structure, especially in the context of the problem of social gaps in the democratic liberal society. The examination of these deficiencies and the reservations likely to arise during this discussion regarding the establishment of the fourth authority will constitute in practice the focus of the discussion on the question of the conceptual vitality of the fourth authority, its validation or its refutation. The practical chapter, which will focus on the proposal for the structure of the fourth authority itself, will examine the possibility of establishing the authority in adjustment to existing regime structures in the liberal democratic countries, and to the conceptual conclusions that will be derived from the positions of the liberal thinkers. This examination will be done with an aspiration to present the proposed authority as a direct and natural continuation of the structural, conceptual, and applied development of the democratic liberal state, while contending with possible questions regarding the application of this solution in the basic structure of the existing regime.
The basic assumptions.
The basic assumptions, in accordance with the introduction chapters, are as follows. 1. Liberal democracy, whose basis is in the affairs of the individual, in the protection of his life, liberty, and property, is the desired basic form of regime as a fair solution to conflicts between citizens in general, and specifically to collective conflicts through majority decision, and individual conflicts through the principles of civil rights. 2. The sovereign in the democratic liberal society is the people, all the individuals, and its supreme principles are liberty and substantive equality. Thus far, no way has been found to successfully integrate, in an equal status manner, the supreme principles within the framework of the supreme institutions of the democratic liberal society. 3. Liberal democracy has therefore moved historically between models of increased state intervention in the economy for social purposes within a framework such as the capitalist welfare state, social democracy, and increased non-intervention and the abolition of the welfare state, neoliberalism. These models referred to the state in itself in a similar conceptual structural way, although they viewed differently its desired mode of functioning in relation to civil society and the individual. 4. The dominant neoliberal view today is expressed, among other things, against the background of the strengthening influence of the United States as a sole superpower in a global era. The lack of clarity in the theoretical and practical meaning of the view regarding the welfare state, and the ever-increasing influence of the owners of wealth. This view seeks to reduce the power and role of the state and leave both the economic and social affairs of the individual to civil society, to the free market, and to himself. 5. In this reality, social gaps are increasing within the democratic liberal society and between it and other societies. These gaps mean, for the purpose of this work, ever-increasing poverty and a severe depletion of the lower and middle socioeconomic class. The continued expansion of social gaps constitutes an internal and external danger to the strength and stability of liberal democracy, alongside the gaps themselves being a basic and acute problem requiring a substantive solution, conceptual and applied. 6. Theoretical and practical attempts to find a clear and universal middle way toward a democratic liberal regime that will maintain on one hand free initiative and on the other hand increased welfare with reduced gaps for the entire population have not succeeded thus far.
Research hypotheses. General.
The fourth authority seeks to present a clear and universal, conceptual, practical, and new solution to the problem of social gaps. The core of this proposed solution is in a different structural approach to the state itself, which will serve as a new and different balance to the fundamental principles of liberal democracy. My general claim in this work will be that the establishment of the fourth authority in the democratic liberal state is conceptually and practically vital as a possible middle way for solving the problem of social gaps, which was not solved by the other approaches. This way challenges the dominance of one conceptual approach over the other, while reconciling with an ever-worsening reality of injustice of the type of social gaps. The research hypotheses will be dedicated to the examination of this claim through a liberal perspective. Here I will argue that the central liberal approaches, which recognize in their base the problem of social gaps, and hence the need to deal with it one way or another, are deficient both conceptually and applied regarding its required solution. This deficiency can come to a conceptual, practical solution through the establishment of the fourth authority. My first hypothesis will be that there is room for the establishment of the fourth authority due to the lack of a clear institutional conclusion to the problem of social gaps in the second treatise of John Locke. There is no doubt that Locke recognized the problem of inequality developing already at the pre-contractual stage, and even saw fit to condemn and criticize it. But as distinguished from his relatively clear institutional solutions regarding the protection of the individual's property, his life, liberty, and assets, to which the state is committed, the problem of inequality remains in his thought without a real solution. My second hypothesis will be from a different liberal conceptual direction. Here I will argue that it is appropriate to establish the fourth authority due to the need for a clear institutional conclusion for solving the problem of social gaps, different from the one embodied in the discussion regarding the three arguments against state intervention, where there is no injury to liberty, according to John Stuart Mill. In recognizing the problem of social gaps in the capitalist society, Mill sought its solution mainly within the framework of civil society, education through private institutions, corporations of equal capital workers, encouragement of social volunteer enterprises, etc., while aspiring for minimal intervention of the state and its authorities. In this work, I will argue that the discussion regarding these three arguments concerning intervention in the individual's affairs, where it does not harm his liberty, that is, when it comes to his aid, must today receive a different and clear institutional conclusion from the one Mill adopted in the 19th century. A reality of injustice of social gaps within the framework of the control of capital-owning elites in civil society, in the democratic liberal state, necessitates a clearer and different conclusion. The fourth authority as a proposal for changing the state structure may be that same conclusion, exactly at the middle point where the basic principles of utilitarianism and liberty balance with the need to prevent wrong to another. Analysis from the point of view of John Rawls will stand at the focus of my third hypothesis. Here I will argue that the establishment of the fourth authority is necessary due to the lack of a clear institutional conclusion to the problem of the supremacy of the first principle of justice over the second in the theory of justice, in the context of the issue of social gaps. It seems that a meaningful tendency exists from the liberal aspect toward the need for a solution in one form or another of the issues of social justice. The prominent conceptual proposal in this field in the modern era was and still is the proposal of John Rawls, who testified of himself as a successor to the liberal tradition from the school of Locke, Kant, and Rousseau. However, the principles of justice proposed by him do not clearly answer the central question for him, which is how or through which institution they should be applied in the free democratic society, especially against the background of his problematic argument regarding the supremacy of the first principle of justice proposed by him over the second. The background institutions proposed by him as a derivative of this supremacy constitute an ambiguous solution to a clear problem. In this work, I will argue within the framework of my third hypothesis that Rawls's original proposal in the theory of justice constitutes a preliminary stage to the clearer proposal raised here. As far as things concern the analysis of the desired structure for the democratic liberal state, I will focus on the view of Montesquieu in itself, against its conceptual application by Madison and de Tocqueville. Here I will argue that the fourth authority is required to be established due to the need for a clear institutional conclusion for the purpose of fulfilling the democratic principle in Montesquieu's thought in the context of social gaps. Montesquieu's idea of the separation of existing authorities as characterizing the sole state advocating political liberty was perhaps sufficient for the emerging liberalism of the 18th century, the beginning of the 19th century from the aspects of liberty, but it is not enough for dealing today with the institutional implications of the democratic aspect in Montesquieu's thought in the reality of dominant liberalism, that is, the need to solve the problem of social gaps. The possibility of the fourth authority's integration into the structure of the state as a whole, I will examine from the point of view of Rousseau and Hegel. Here I will argue that the fourth authority constitutes a proper response to the lack of a solution to the issue of inequality, recognized in itself in its full severity by Hegel within the framework of the ideal state without a real institutional solution. This examination will be done while addressing the problems revealed from the institutional solution of his conceptual rival, Rousseau. The conceptual chapter will conclude with a discussion of the political, economic, structural debate against the background of the welfare state crisis at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st between its supporters and its rejectors from the liberal point of view. This discussion will be done while focusing on two central economic thinkers in the 20th century, Keynes and Hayek. My hypothesis will be that the need for a reform of the fourth authority's type is reflected in the absence of a clear institutional solution to the problem of social gaps in an era of the welfare state crisis, that is, a neoliberal regime, a reality of advanced technology, and the decline of the top-down planned economy. This hypothesis will be examined in analogy to the opposing political economic criticism of Keynes regarding the vitality of full employment and of Hayek regarding the spontaneous market. The fourth authority may constitute a reformative answer, conceptual and practical alike, to this need as well as to the arguments against the welfare state. Thus, for example, the arguments against cumbersomeness and corruption in the state mechanisms, as well as the argument of the democratic difficulty in top-down planning, find a solution within the framework of the proposal under discussion against the background of the competition standing at the base of its conduct against the other authorities, as well as its representative base, which will be detailed in the practical chapter, while preserving free initiative and competition. After the discussion of the research hypotheses, I will turn to the practical applied chapter of the work, to the proposal regarding a new applied structure of the democratic liberal state, namely, to the establishment of the fourth authority. In this chapter, I will address the structure of the proposed authority, its powers, the manner of its election, its preservation, and all this while examining questions likely to arise regarding the practicality of this solution. For example, in contexts of overall ministerial responsibility or fear of system stagnation, and in adjustment to the conclusions arising from the discussion of the research hypotheses and the needs for which the establishment of this authority is required, in combination with a comparative examination against the constitutions and structure of the liberal democratic states existing today.